Hi and welcome back to my channel. I'm Tony, and as you know, I'm building another 1:6 scale Armortek tank. This time it is the Hetzer, the Jagdpanzer 38. And when we left off last time, I'd built and assembled all of the components that I wanted to paint ahead of installing onto the tank. Now I've done all the painting. I've also painted the lower hull section, and I've gone for a particular camo scheme, which is this one in my reference book. And what I'll do is I'll zoom this in. I can try and zoom in. So it's this particular scheme here, and you might be able to pick out, but it's got the camo scheme which I'm going to work on, but I wanted to get the wheels painted. So the idler wheel is in the brown, the three middle wheels are in the dark yellow, and there's another wheel in brown, and then the sprocket itself is in the green. And if you want the color references, please let me know. And let me just zoom that out again. Sorry, please let me know, and I'll let you know in the comments. So I'm really pleased with the finish on the wheels and all the components, and I'm now going to today's session is all about installing the suspension system onto the tank, which I'm really excited about because I want to see how the leaf springs work. I'm going to put the rubber tires onto the wheels, and we'll install those onto the tank, and then we'll just take it off the jack and we'll just test the suspension on the bench here, do a bit of a rolling chassis test if you like. And then that'll be today's session. The next session after that will be all about installing the sprocket and the drive case onto the tank, but that's today's session. But ahead of that, I did film the painting. Ben's going to speed the whole thing up because it can be a bit tedious if you're watching it, but I thought I might just show it to you. I managed to get it painted, although the weather conditions weren't great. It wasn't raining, but it was a little bit windy, but I managed to get away with it, if you like, because this part is so crucial to be able to get on and continue the build of the tank. So I'm going to show you that now, and when we come back, we'll get stuck into getting this the suspension installed onto the tank. So hope you enjoy this, and I'll see you soon. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. I've got Ben to speed the whole thing up because watching paint dry is tedious, let's face it. That whole painting session took a day, and that was etch primer, I used grey and red oxide colour primers, and then 3 top coats, and obviously leaving a period of time in between to dry, and then overnight to harden, and now we can handle these parts really simply and without too much concern. However, you know, when you're handling these parts, you will inevitably chip the paint and damage the paint, but you can touch that up. Don't stress out of that. If you're doing one of these and you're doing it in the way I'm doing it, and you find that you chip some of the paint, it's going to happen. But like I did on the Persian and the tank, the Tiger, you can go back in and touch that up once everything's on the tank. So everything's ready to go. I have gone ahead and installed the first of 4 of the suspension systems, and I'll go through that, the rest of them in real time with you, and just sort of give you some tips on what I've discovered on that. But ahead of that, what I should have done in the last session when we built the sprocket, I should have said that a really good tip is to link together or build a section of the track, 15 to 20 links of the track, so that you can test that your sprocket binds as it should do onto the track. So I've done that. I should have done that in the last session, but I've done that. And on the Hetzer kit with the replacement steel sprocket rings, they do have markers on the rings to make sure you align them properly. And again, I should have told you that last week as well. But anyway, and also just wanted to show you this. So this is the track for the Hetzer, and if you look at the width of this compared to, this is a link from my Tiger, look at the difference. It is huge in comparison to this. Now I understand, correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand the reason why they narrowed the track gauge down is it gave the Hetzer a lot more agility, a lot quicker to steer and very mobile. So it's just, but looking at it, it's incredible, the difference. Assembling this is exactly the same as I've done in the past. But I'm not going to do any more of that. It is just literally just to get that, you know, to test the sprocket fits perfectly. So now what I'll do is I'll reposition the camera, we'll zoom in, and I'll build the rest of the suspension system with you guys in real time. Right, so this is the first of the 4 suspension systems in. I'd previously put these brackets on before I painted them, but I've deliberately left them loose. I've left them loose until this stage because there's a threaded bolt. This bolt here has to pass through this into the receptacle threaded part of this, and it's also got to pass through the suspension itself. So it's the suspension itself. So there's a lot for this bolt to go through, and the last thing you want to do is tighten this up and then have no wiggle room, so to speak. So you don't have to tighten that up at this stage. So the very first thing that we do here is we install one of these. The instructions say that you should show it with the, not with the hex fixing, but the nut fixing on show. Not sure why, but that's what they tell you to do in the instructions. So this pops into that nice and tight. This is where I'm going to try not to get my big old head in the way. So that's that. And then this has to pass through. This is where it gets a bit tricky. Excuse me for a minute. That's better, sorry. That's it. It's just starting to feed its way through. I might just give that a bit of a tap. There we go. Let's see if I can feel that going into the thread. I think I can. It's going in nicely by hand, but you will have to tighten this up. So arm yourself with a little spanner, and then actually what I should have done. What have I forgotten? Well, we all know. Thread locker. In my eagerness to get on with this. Anyway, so just tightening up this by hand, and then small spanner. Just wind that in ever so gently, and it should, wind that back out a bit. They tell you to have this look, even in my reference book, this looks like it's supposed to be vertical rather than the horizontal as I've got on here. So that's that in there, rocking very nicely. Now the next thing is the axle arms themselves. So made up of two parts. This is the main axle arm, and then this is the main retaining bolt that goes through this and tightens into that. However, like this, that you don't over tighten these, because these have to have completely free movement. And don't worry if there's a little bit of movement on here, that is absolutely as it's intended to do. So leave these, make sure that these are running nice and freely like that. Over tighten these and then the suspension system will not work. Now the trick with this is we don't want to put too much thread locker on, because the thread locker will bleed out and inadvertently you'll end up, if you like, gluing the back of this with the thread locker onto that and stiffen the whole thing up. Now, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop a tiny bit, just a bit of thread locker in the back of that. Same that. Wipe any excess off of that. We do not want this inadvertently bonding the main axle arm on. So these should go on hand tight. Shouldn't be a need for putting anything other than using your hands to your fingers, so to speak, just to wind these bolts in. Now I like to see them dressed so that the slots are all facing the right way, so I'm going to turn that back down so I've got free movement of that. Now that thread locker, when it goes off, will do its job and retain that bolt inside that. So that's that one. Next one, and don't forget these are pairs, opposite pairs, so same thing, slides in there. There we go. Sorry. Again, just should only need to be hand tight and wind that back. So I just want to make sure that they're aligned, and they are. Just doing that by hand. So again, just keep those. Now, best thing to do would be to just let the thread locker go off as it has on here. So we'll do the rest of these. Then what we'll do, we'll put the tyres on the wheels. And then by that stage the thread locker should have done its job, so that we can very easily just install the wheels onto the tank. So I'll spin this around now so that we can get to the other side. Right, so we'll go and do this one now. Same deal as before. The main leaf spring slots into that. Sorry, I'm just going to put my big old head in the way just so make sure that I'll line that up, and that is. Then a little bit of thread locker on the fixing as always. Forgot the last time, of course, but and that, yeah, that's actually gone in really nicely. I feel that biting already, so that should, excuse me. Wind that in again as before. Having it aligned on the vertical, and then just tighten up this bracket. There's a tiny little bit of thread locker on the end of these. I'm hoping they'll do their job. Again, I should imagine there's a lot, this particular part comes under a lot of stress. So that's it, rocking very nicely. Just about clears that, incredible. Right, so let's get one of these in. So we'll just pop a bit of, as before. Don't put too much in there, it's about right. What you don't want is you don't want it pouring out of the hole. You just want enough to be able to grab the bolt, but just wipe away any excess. Said we don't want that the back of this axle sticking through the thread locker. So bolt goes in as before. Now hopefully these go in just as easy as the other side. Just take that, slacken that off a bit. Again, just making sure that that's swinging freely. Same deal. This one. Just going in by hand. I mean, yeah, that's fine. Nice and loose. What we'll do is, you can see though, we'll want to move. That's about all we can do there. I mean, maybe we could probably, on this side, could we get them to do that? Does it really matter? I don't think it does. As long as you dress them. I know I've got them vertical the other side, but you know, are you ever going to know? I think I'm just happy with that. We'll leave that to set and we'll do the next one. Exactly the same deal as before. This leaf spring slots in. Put a thread locker on that. Well, that went in too easy. I mean, it's nice when it's easy, but then you always think, are you ended up? Is it going to ambush you? So just winding that in ever so gently. And go. No, back. Turn it back so it's vertical. That's fine. Tighten up these fixings. And we go again. So thread locker. Yeah, don't want too much of it, but just enough to coat the thread. So, same deal. No, see, that's going to have to be vertical. So I'm actually quite happy to have them either, as long as they're both, I think, just dress them the same. Don't, I mean, because they need to be in a little bit as far as you can. But what you don't want is, you don't want them one that way and then the other one the other way or whatever. You just want to try and get them so they make some sense. That's too tight. That's actually catching it. So holding that there, that's the movement you need to have. Like that. And the last one. That will move, so we'll leave that now, and hopefully when that thread locker goes off we'll be all set. So that's it, nice and easy, couldn't be simpler. So what we'll do now is we'll let that set, and while we're waiting for that to set, we'll get the tyres onto the wheels ahead of put the wheels onto the tank. Right, so we've now got to the point we need to glue the tyres onto the main hubs. So if you've watched my video before on the M26, you'll see I'm going to attack this exactly the same way. So I'm going to apply This is the sort of the Loctite, sort of the black Loctite, really sort of strong gear. I'm going to apply this on the top edge. I'm just rotating it using the sort of back of the hub. Just get a line around that and pop that down on the bench like so. Then I'm going to put the rubber wheel on, or the rubber tire on, and slide that down, so then that will spread the glue across the face of the main wheel, or the external part of the main wheel. Just rotating that round, making sure that the tire is flush all sides, and that's it. Simple as that. Obviously that's going to have to be set. Move that out of the way for now, and that's it. As simple as that. Go on and do the rest of these now. This is quite handy, this bit, sort of to hold that bit of the back of the hub, if you like, and just use that to rotate. I'm being fairly liberal with this, because I really want a good adhesion of the rubber onto the metal. This stuff goes off really quickly, and I've got a little bit, classic, I can get that off. Try and get that off with a bit of acetone. Don't. Not bothered about it actually, because all this has got to be weathered. All probably adds to the look and feel of it. That's that one, and I'll crack on and do the rest. So while we wait for all the wheels to set, and the tyres to set onto the wheels I should say, I'm going to go ahead now and install the first of the idler wheels. Now this should be a reasonably straightforward process. Just unwind that hubcap. I'm going to put some grease on the actual axle. That's probably too much. Just enough. So that's that, and now hopefully this should just slide into position. There we go. So that's on. And again, we can just see that adjustment. I'll just hold that still. I don't know if you can see that rocking backwards and forward, but that's how we tension up the track. So this is then held into position with a retaining washer and an M4 8mm fixing. So obviously I have to put some thread locker on this. Pass that through. The backs of these retaining washers, they do need to be cleaned up with a bit of sandpaper because they've got a bit of a rough edge. What I've found in the past is that if you don't do that, it can snag with the axle. So I'm just going to spin that on, spinning that all the time, making sure it doesn't affect the performance, and it doesn't. And that's in. And now, just so that we don't want to lose that, just wind that hubcap on. I'm not going to thread lock these. You just have to keep an eye every time you drive your tank. Just make sure that you test all the fixings and especially the sprocket and the idler wheel. Make sure nothing's come off and something hurt hubcaps and what have you. So what I'll do now is we just spin this around. So we just do the other one. Same deal, bit of grease. Idler wheel, just unscrew that hubcap. Hopefully this goes in with no trouble whatsoever. He says. I might need a bit of just a gentle that's it. Just checking that is all the way in, and it is. And now same thing, just retaining washer on the back of that. That one's actually all right, doesn't need to be cleaned up at all. That's fine. Some do, and they just need a little bit of sandpaper to just clean the back of it off. That's fine. Again, see that? You can see that adjustment. That wheel's moving as it should do, and as before we just spin that hubcap on so we don't want to lose it, and that is the idler wheel done. So what we do now, the wheels should be set so we can start installing all the wheels, and then we can take it off the jack and do a bit of a bench rolling test. Right, so we'll get on now, and we'll install 2 of these wheels in real time. Then I'll just do the rest off camera, and we'll then come back and do a bit of a rolling bench test. So as before, just a little bit of grease on this axle, and this one as well. And that's ready. Now this wheel here, this actually sits and rides inside the idler wheel, but you'll have to put this on as the very first wheel. It will go on. Here we go. So we'll retain that. Thread locker ready. I think when all the wheels are on, this is going to really start to take shape, this wonderful little Hetzer. I'm really become quite fond of it. So that will sit and ride inside that. Actually got a bit of grease on the tyre, no harm done. Now what we do, this becomes a little bit awkward I think. I'll get the next one on. There we go. We'll just do the same thing again. Retaining screw and washer. Sorry, that was my phone going off. I normally put it onto quiet mode. Apologies for that. But anyway. Right. That's it. You can see now that that's how it rocks. Obviously that's going to be inside there. When all the weight's on it, these wheels will separate, and then hopefully the leaf springs will start showing how they work. So that's effectively 2 of the 8 wheels. I'll go off now and I'll do them away from camera because I think I think this will be a bit monotonous for you to watch. And then what we'll do is we'll go on and take it off the jack and do its first rolling bench test. So that's it, all the wheels are installed onto the tank, all the hubcaps are on, no issues whatsoever. And it's off its jack now, and we're just going to perform a few little rolling tests. And I can feel this is really smooth, it's operating exactly as it should do, there's no bumps or squeaks or rattles or bangs or anything like that, so it's working really well. Now I want to just test it over a bit of an obstacle, so I've just screwed a bit of timber down to my bench. And we're going to ask this now to roll over that, and we can see that the rocker arm is starting to move, as you can see that. Hopefully you can pick that up on the camera. And I'm not really putting any pressure on that at all. Just it's rolling on its own free will. And this is obviously without the tracks attached. So I can see it's working really well. And again, we're just testing those. Some cables on there. So I'm really pleased with that. And what's really cool is the leaf springs actually work, and I really hope they did, and they do. So amazing job by Armortek. And I'm just going to see if I can demonstrate that by just putting a little bit of pressure down on the tank and see if that's moving. And I can see it's moving, and I think just checking the camera, I think you'd be able to see it doing as well. So that is obviously without any weight attached to it whatsoever. Imagine all the batteries and all the drive motors and all the other paraphernalia that goes inside this tank. The weight is going to be significant, so it will probably settle a bit more. So that's it for today's session. I really hope you've enjoyed that. I've really thrilled that we moved on so much. It was worth the wait in sort of assembling all the parts and getting them painted ahead of putting them on the tank. And it's really starting to, you know, transform the look of this wonderful little Hetzer model. So next session we'll be installing the drive case and the sprocket. Now I get it. Before I was questioning why normally this goes on to the tank first and then the sprocket goes on. But I understand now, because the way this is assembled, if you have the wheels on, then it's going to be really tricky. Sorry, if you don't have the wheels on and you install the drive case and then you try and install the wheels, it's going to be really tricky because it has to lock inside. Obviously the wheel runs inside this sprocket. So the next session will be about installing both of these onto the tank, and then we're going to start talking about building up the outer hull or the upper hull. I've already gone ahead and sprayed these pieces here, which will basically flank and go over us almost like mud guards. So they're done ahead, because you'll never be able to get paint on those once the wheels are on. So that'll be the next session: sprocket, drive case assembly, and then we'll put these on, and then we'll start looking at building up the upper hull section. So I hope you've enjoyed that today. If you've liked this video, give me a thumbs up please. If you've just joined me and found my channel, welcome. I really hope you subscribe. We've got a long way to go still on this build. And I'm just going to sign off by saying I'm Tony. I absolutely love building these 1:6 scale tanks. I love everything to do with 1:6 scale, and I can't wait for my next session. So I'll see you real soon. Hi, it's me again. Sorry, just before I let you go, if you're a Star Wars fan, I happen to be a huge Star Wars fan, you've got to tune into a video I'm going to be releasing very soon. It's a full unboxing video and full walk around of an incredible 1:6 scale model, huge model of Luke Skywalker's snowspeeder. It's the one that he used in the film Empire Strikes Back, and this company Jazz Inc. make these things to movie grade quality. Not only is this huge, it's so superbly detailed and beautifully thought out, even to the extent that they've got the cockpit instruments lighting up. So I'm really looking forward to unboxing that. I'd love you guys to tune in and watch this. Be something different. It's not a tank, I'm afraid. It doesn't stop me carrying on with the tanks, but it's just something a little bit different, and I wanted to share it with you. So I really hope you tune in. That'll be out very soon, and I'll let you go on now. And sorry, and I'll see you real soon.